Today I want to talk to you about something a lot of you are actually aware of, but I doubt whether you actually grasp the seriousness of it. On the screen you can see a copy of an original document by the ANC. There can be no doubt to its authenticity as an official ANC document, and it should be therefore treated as such. What I am talking about is this document titled Circular 213-6, dated June 1993. Please take note of this date because its significance will become apparent soon. This document basically spells out the ANC's policy going forward from 1993 with regard to us whites. That's you and I. Yes, this document is a strategic plan of how to handle us going forward in such a way that we never get too upset, that we never react too much, and most importantly, we never come to the realization that we are actually being persecuted, discriminated against, according to a very carefully worked out plan. I'd like to go through this document with you now, and hopefully once I have been through it, you will realize that you and I are the subject of a deliberate plan to slowly cause your and my demise. What I am displaying on my screen right now is a scan of the actual document, but I will switch to a transcribed version of it for better clarity. You know, my eyes are not what they used to be. If at any stage you have any doubt as to the transcribed version's accuracy, you may refer to this image and you will see that the transcribed version is a word-for-word transcription with zero translation included. The heading of this document is The Success Story, Our Struggle for Liberation. So let's get into it. Point 1 says, the armed and constant threat of violence forced the white spineless regime to negotiate for so-called peace. Let us unpack this a little bit. It says that they deliberately caused violence to force the whites to the negotiating table. That much I agree with. But then it goes on to say that we were negotiating for a so-called peace. This immediately sets off the alarm bells for me. It is saying that even then they had no intention of ever being at peace with us, or us having peace between us. They had every intention to keep the pressure on. Isn't that what we have experienced over the last 25 years? This I will term a success for them. Point number 2 says, the psychological warfare through the churches to create a guilt complex with whites was a victory over Christians. To me, this statement is probably the most revealing of the whole document because through the churches, the white population has in fact become guilt-ridden, and in many cases people are ashamed of their white skin. The churches have done such a good job of subverting our people that we have lost all semblance of what it means to be responsible for something. We have lost the ability to even express any real survival skills. As it would appear right now, we have a population who would rather suffer a slow death than stand up and fight for what they know to be right and just. So far, this has happened and is indeed a success for the ANC. Point 3 states, the mass action was a successful method to rip the nation's economy to pieces and create panic in the rich settlers. Once again, the ANC's plan to cause political unrest by demonstrations causing major losses in productivity and thereby severely damaging the economy of the country. This has caused massive losses in profits for companies, which in turn has caused a lot of disinvestment in South Africa, resulting in huge numbers of rich as well as skilled people taking their money and business out of the country, leaving the country poorer and less capable. Yet another success for the ANC. Point number 4 states, the constant uproar in black education is the fourth try for liberation through education because the white regime simply cannot meet all our demands. As the National Party government tried to cater for the education of the black youth, the schools were systematically destroyed basically as fast as they could be built. By the sheer number of schools needed to educate the masses and the limited speed at which they could be built, it became a losing battle almost from day one. In my opinion, another victory for the ANC. They created a situation where the black masses were not being educated properly, yet the blame for it was put squarely on the National Party government. Point 5 states, all 4 tactical attacks leave the regime powerless and gradually giving in to our demands. Once again, a true statement. Combining all of the above was something the government could never cope with and was bound to reach a stage of despair. Since dealing with these people properly and decisively was not going to go down well in the international community, their hands were effectively tied. The only escape was to start giving in to their demands. Admittedly, hindsight tells us that giving in to the demands of these people always leads to a case of offering the hand and they take the arm, and then start demanding the other arm too. Once again, another success for the ANC. Point 6 states, all these help to create a feeling of helplessness and despair and to lose confidence in their government. This is a very true statement. It didn't take very long before the white public started to divide over how these issues should be handled. And because no workable solution could be found, the public did indeed feel helpless and in a state of despair. Mission accomplished, I would say. Another win for the ANC. Now, there is a statement that I consider to be the most significant sentence in this part of the document. It says, be careful not to upset the farmers too much before we gain control over the SAP and SADF, SAP being the South African Police and SADF being the South African Defence Force at the time. Here they clearly state that they have to be careful of the farmers because unless the ANC have total control of the SADF, as it was called then, as well as the SAP, they know that they would be given a hiding if pushed too far. Today the ANC has total control over the SAPs, as well as the SANDF. SAPs being the South African Police Service, as it is now being named, and the SANDF, as it is now being named, the South African National Defence Force. And look at the statistics regarding farm attacks and farm murders. Another success for the ANC. Point 7 states, the constant pressure of violence and economic uncertainty forced de Klerk to surrender power to the suppressed people like in Namibia. I don't need to explain anything here. This is exactly what happened in 1994. Yet another success for the ANC. We gave them South Africa just as we handed over Namibia, or Southwest Africa in those days. Before I carry on with the rest of the document, I'd like to briefly talk about what the document has said so far and point out where it has one major flaw. It is my opinion that this document was not drafted by any of these morons in government then or now. No, this document was drafted by a white or whites somewhere. This is the kind of treasonous behavior our nation has been plagued with from the beginning. Although these strategies have been very effective in obtaining the exact result that they were after, they overlooked one simple and blatant fact. This document was drafted with the assumption that the black population were actually capable of maintaining everything that was handed over to them. This has been proven not to be the case, and in the last 25 years, the ANC has turned the country as a whole into an absolute basket case. Most importantly, the police force are bankrupt and can't even afford ammunition for their members to do their annual competency tests. Their training and discipline is at shocking levels, and in a crunch, they would make for easy pickings, to be honest. As for the SANDF, they are bankrupt, badly trained, and at the very least, 60% of them are suffering from HIV. The SANDF has become an HIV hospice, where HIV sufferers go to get free treatment, at the taxpayer's expense, of course. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the fat cats in the SANDF, who use the SANDF as their own personal cash cow and free kitchen. The result is a massively overweight force, if you can even call them that. No, they are useless, and although they have at their disposal a large arsenal of arms and ammunition, they do not have the training, intelligence, or capability to use what they have effectively. They too would be easy pickings in an SHTF situation, to be honest. So that is the kink in their plan as far as I'm concerned. In fact, they are simply not capable of offering any kind of strategic resistance to us if we should rise up against them. Granted, many people would lose their lives, but there is no doubt in my mind that they would lose a proper declared war if that should happen. Now let us look at the rest of the document. It goes under the following heading, Affirmative Action Strategy after April the 27th, 1994. The points in the document go under the following preface sentence. The greatest fear of the white settler is to lose his job, his farm, or his house and all his luxuries. This will enable the new democratic government to tax them to the utmost, while our comrades in MK and UPLA continue with their part of the struggle. This one sentence about sums up the last 25 years in a nutshell. This is precisely what I have been saying right from the beginning. We white population in general will do anything to keep our jobs in order to maintain our lifestyles. We are so afraid to lose what we have that we have in some cases resorted to being traitors to our own. We only have to look at how BEE has made businesses, white-owned businesses, fire capable and productive whites to make way for blacks just to score the BEE points in order to get contracts and tenders they would normally not have been able to. This behavior is, in my opinion, one of the most destructive things to happen to us in the last 25 years. It has proven that loyalty to our own has all but disappeared, and the eternal chase for money and possessions has become the main priority in life, at the expense of many of our own, of course. While we are all preoccupied with making a living and chasing the buck, as the sentence says, we ignore the tyranny happening every single day on farms, on our roads, in our homes, in fact, everywhere you look. Right, let us look at the points listed under this heading. Point number 1 states, surplus land will be redistributed among our people. This one doesn't need much explanation at all. Land expropriation is a reality now, and although we are being bombarded with petitions to oppose it, rest assured it is going to be implemented. I suggest that everyone go and read the draft legislation papers to see how this will or could affect you. I'm going to cover this in a video over the next few days. This alone, if implemented and not opposed totally, will have a devastating effect on you and I. Also, do not be fooled into thinking that expropriation will be restricted to land only. Oh no, it literally means anything they see fit to take from you. Think about that for a moment. Point number 2 states, all positions in public service will be replaced by comrades. This needs no explanation either. As we all know, every single SOE, municipality and government institution is run and controlled by the comrades. Also, as mentioned earlier, they have been run into the ground by incompetence, corruption, and an inability to think logically. This, as I said earlier, is not entirely a bad thing, looking further down the road. Point 3 states, the security forces will be reconstructed with our comrades to protect our people. Whites were protected for 350 years. Let them experience to be second-class citizens. This has happened, and the police are a fine example of this at the moment. There are countless stories of black policemen and women acting in a manner more fitting to terrorists or gangsters, with white people being on the receiving end. I heard the other day that the police had paid out more than 1 billion rand in wrongful arrests and other claims this year alone. They are doing their best to subject us to as much oppression as they possibly can. Point number 4 states, no ammunition will be available to white settlers. Over the last few years, there has been a concerted effort to get arms out of the hands of white people. The government has even gone as far as sabotaging their own computer systems to prevent us from renewing our firearm licenses. This has gone on for at least 2 years now that I know of, and even though there is a court order in effect which orders the police to reinstate the system to accept license renewals, there is a move afoot to remove self-protection as a reason to own a firearm. This literally denies you and I the right to life and opens us up to anyone with an illegal firearm to take what they want from us, even our lives. That is exactly their purpose at the end of the day. Point 5 states, health institutions will be Africanized and whites will pay according to their income to enable thus to contribute to their liberal or liberated brothers. This is one point that has quite literally blown up in their faces. State-run hospitals have been turned into places you go if you have a death wish. The levels of incompetence, corruption and pure laziness going on in state hospitals has rendered them totally unable to provide any services that could be considered on par with anything acceptable, no matter whose standards they are measured with or against. However, they have seen that they are not capable of looking after or running state hospitals. So what have they done? That's right. They are going to go after the only sector of the health industry that is working, and that is the private sector. The NHI system is aimed at taking control of the private health sector, but it is already widely accepted that it will end no differently to the state-run health sector, in the gutter. It is also going to chase away many qualified doctors in all spheres of the health sector, leaving South Africa to become a septic blotch on the tip of It is also going to chase away many qualified doctors in all spheres of the health sector, leaving South Africa to become a septic blotch at the tip of the African continent. Point 6 states, some white schools will be allowed because most settlers will pay their last cent for white education, and this will provide some money for us people. This statement is very true, and ironically, if you look at all good private schools these days, they are attended by all the children of the government employees. Why? Because they know that there is still such a thing as good education available at these schools. It won't last long though. These schools will all be taken over by the blacks eventually, and we will be left looking for places to educate our children. It's inevitable. The last point 7 states, pension funds and insurance companies collected billions over the years. This will be to our disposal for education of our comrades in years to come. This is a very sensitive issue, and I wish people would see the severity in what is stated here. What this one sentence is saying is that they are going to take your pension. If you have worked for the last 25 or 30 years and are close to retirement, there's a very good chance that you will not be paid your pension, even after you have retired. This is already on the cards for those that are not paying attention. It has already been stated that the government is going to force pension funds to invest in all the SOEs to try and get them back on their feet again. As we all know, this is going to result in the loss of your pensions. There is absolutely no doubt this will happen. Anyone who thinks that once your money is invested in the SOEs, you will see it again is a fool. And then the clincher, the last sentence to end off this document. Viva, kill a boer, kill a farmer. So if you thought that the slogan kill a farmer or kill a boer, kill a farmer came from the EFF or BLF, you would be dead wrong. Kill the boer, kill the farmer is the official policy of the ANC government. It is no wonder that Ramaphosa stood in front of the whole world and proclaimed that there are no killings of white farmers in South Africa. It is no wonder that he said on Monday that the Zulus who were killed at Blood River were mowed down by land thieves, calling the Zulus freedom fighters instead of terrorists, which is what they were by definition. I think it is time we became freedom fighters, because if we become terrorists, we would be considered illegal. It would seem that as long as you are a freedom fighter, you are on the right side of the law and history. From this document, it is as plain as day that the ANC has nothing good planned for you and I, except your extermination or our extermination. It is high time every white citizen in South Africa came to this realization or truth. We are quite literally being led to our own slaughter, and you know what makes it even more unbelievable? We are paying for it. Yes, we are financing our own demise through paying taxes. The government has no other major source of revenue other than its taxpayers. That, my friend, is you and I. The white population still make up around 80% of the tax base, even though we represent less than 10% of the population. People, it is time we took a long, hard look at our situation and asked a few very critical questions. Is that nice car you have worth your and your children's life and future? Is the Christmas holiday down to the coast worth your and your family's life and future? Is that big adventure bike in the garage worth your children as well as your grandchildren's lives or future? Is your house and bank balance worth risking your family's life over? Don't you think it is time to put an end to this now? This conversation has to start. It can't happen here for obvious reasons, but somewhere it has to take place. Our very existence and survival depend on it. I will leave you with that thought. Please remember to like and share this video on as many other social platforms as possible. It's the only way that my message gets heard. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, do it now by clicking on the big red subscribe button just below and to the right of the video. That's where it is on computer anyway. While you are there, click on the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload new content. If you would like to support my channel and my efforts to prepare for a coming disaster here, in the description I have provided ways for which both local as well as international subscribers can make a contribution. If you would like to make a crypto contribution, I've also provided a Bitcoin as well as a Litecoin wallet address. If you would like to contribute any other cryptos, shoot me an email to the address provided in the description and I will provide you with the relevant wallet addresses. To all those amazing people who do support my work, I would like to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation. Be safe out there. Until next time.